So I was on a podcast yesterday and somebody said something to me that although it was the same thing that I've heard over and over again, just said differently, it hit me in a way that the other things haven't. And this is just proof that the way that something's said is so important. We need multiple messengers for the same message for this purpose. I can't wait to tell you what it is and to dig into what you think this can do to help your personal life, your business, and your work life harmony all around. My name is Amber Fuhriman, and this is the More Than Corporate podcast. Welcome to the More Than Corporate podcast. I'm Amber Fuhriman, recovering perfectionist and serial accomplisher. If you're anything like I used to be, you've been living your life thinking that if you accomplish enough stuff, you'll finally find the success you've always wanted. But what if it's not about accomplishing more stuff? What if it's about accomplishing the right stuff? I believe you don't find success, you create it by intentionally designing the life you want and having the courage to get out of your comfort zone to live your design. I went from doing what I was supposed to do to doing what I love to do, and now I get to help others do the same. Keep listening as I chat with inspiring people who make it their mission to live their best life every day and learn how you too can live the life you've always wanted. Before we dig into this, I just want to take a minute to tell you about the Design Your Life Mastermind. The Design Your Life Mastermind is a book club where we pick a book that is either written by or suggested by guests of this very podcast. And based upon those suggestions, we dig into books related to personal development, to personal growth, business growth, finances, all of the things that are on that wonderful life wheel that you guys have seen. Not only do we read the books, we implement things, we talk about them as a group, and then I introduce you to the author, and you get this Zoom call with the author where you can interact with them and ask them questions and learn at a deeper level. If that sounds like what's been missing to take your business to the next level, then reach out to me. The Calendly link is below. Schedule a call. Let's jump on and see if it's a good fit. I cannot wait to talk to you about this program. I think that it is going to be a game changer for your business. Looking forward to talking to you soon. With that being said, let's jump into this episode. Okay, so what was said to me? First of all, before we dig into that, I want to take a step back and kind of set the scene for you. How many times have you been in a situation where you're doing something that you're good at or doing something that you love, and maybe you're trying to make a business out of it? Maybe you're just doing it as a side hustle for some extra cash. Maybe you're just doing it for fun as a hobby. Either way, you're in the trenches of this thing that you're good at. And somebody comes up to you and starts saying, "Hey, can you tell me more about how you do this? Or can you teach me how to do this? Or, man, that's so cool. I can't believe that you can do that." And you step back and think, I don't understand what the big deal is. Can't everybody? Isn't this what everybody does? This is the exact situation I want to talk about today. I was on a podcast yesterday, and the guest said to me, "We sit so close to our own strengths, we don't recognize them as strengths." And I thought, holy cow, that's super powerful. Let me say that again and just take a minute to think about how that lands. We sit so close to our own strengths that we don't see them as strengths. We see them as normal. We see them as things that everybody should be able to do. We see them as nothing special. So then, when we sit down and we start to look at what products and services that we can create to help people level up in the industry that we're helping them in, or when we sit there and start thinking, what can I do that's different than other companies? How can I set myself apart? What can I bring to the table that others don't? Those strengths that we have become blinded to are the difference maker between putting ourselves in the box that everybody else is doing and making a huge difference because we are embracing what makes us different, what makes those strengths so amazing. Then also, there's this whole other category of opportunities that it opens up for you, because when you acknowledge that not everybody knows how to do the things that you know how to do, When you acknowledge that not everybody finds the things that you find easy for them. When you acknowledge that what you have that you think is just routine is extraordinary to somebody else, and that they would pay you for your time to teach them how to do it. All of the sudden, doors open up to you, not just for programs that you can create or products that you can design, but also in collaborations where you can connect with others who have different strengths than you have. And now you're able to build these powerhouse partnerships where you can each bring your strengths to the table. You have to be able to acknowledge what those strengths are, though. And sometimes this is so uncomfortable. How many times have we been in a conversation where you're talking about your struggles? You're talking about what you're not good at, and you feel completely comfortable. And then somebody asks you to start talking about a success, or they ask you to start talking about what you're good at. And we want to hide. And we want it because we can't brag, right? So now we're retreating back into this, box of looking like everybody else. It's so crazy because as we grow, we try so hard not to stand out. We don't want to be different. We don't want to be perceived as something that's not normal. And we spend the first parts of our life, it seems, trying to put ourselves in the box of what society thinks is normal. And then we spend the second part of our adulthood trying to break out of that box so that we can be something different. So, what are you doing to break out of that box? What are you doing that makes you special? And how are you identifying those strengths? And there is an exercise that we talked about on the podcast episode. I've also suggested it before, but I'm going to suggest it again. And I'm going to ask you guys or encourage you guys to really take this seriously and do this exercise because it absolutely will change your life. I'm going to preface it by saying, though, that it is so uncomfortable. So if you're sitting there thinking, man, I'm going to do this, it's going to be easy, it is absolutely not. It's simple, but it's not easy. So I want you to take a minute and I want you to pick your top 5 people that you value their opinion. Now, that's the most important part, that you value their opinion, because what I'm going to ask you to do requires you to be open to receiving feedback from somebody. And feedback is only good as the person who's giving it to you. And what I mean by that, before you guys start saying, holy cow, get off of your judgmental horse. What I mean by that is if you don't trust and respect the person who's giving you the feedback, then what they're saying is not going to be beneficial to you. You're going to get defensive with it. The other thing too is you want to make sure that the people that you're asking for feedback from are people that not only do you value their opinion, but maybe they have some success in the area where you want to have some success as well. So if you have a mentor or something to that effect. Now, here's the other side of this. When you get the answers to the question that I'm going to propose to you, trust them. Sit in it and allow yourself to believe what you're told. So, what is the question? I encourage you to pick 5 people that you trust and value their opinion. Reach out to them and say something along the lines of, hey, I'm really working to be better at acknowledging my strengths, to be able to highlight the things that I bring to the table that are different. And I'm curious to know what you think my biggest strengths are. Now, if you really want to get uncomfortable, you can ask them what they think your biggest weaknesses are. If you choose to do that, you want to make sure that you preface it by saying, hey, I really want this information. I want to know how I'm showing up to people. I think I know how I'm showing up, but I want to know how I'm really showing up. So, what do you think my biggest areas of improvement are? And I want you to be completely honest, and I want you to know that there's not going to be any frustration or anger or backlash because of this. I'm truly interested in what you believe my greatest areas of improvement are. Now, here's what I'm going to say about all of this: strengths and weaknesses. You have heard me talk about perception is projection. There's a whole podcast episode on it. I'll probably be doing another one here soon. But just as a refresher, the idea is that we project what we think about ourselves onto others. So when you ask somebody, hey, what do you think my strengths are? They are seeing strengths that they can resonate with because of who they are. So then when you ask person number 2, you might get a whole different level of strengths or list of strengths. They're different people and they value different things, and their reticular activating system sees different things and they can relate to different things. This is why it's so important to get 5 people from different areas of your life and different backgrounds and different experiences and ask them what your strengths are. If you choose to do this exercise, I'm curious to know what the feedback is on it. I'm curious to know how it affects how you approach planning your products and services, promoting your products and services, or even creating what you want your next side hustle to be. In order for us to truly make the impact that we want to make on the world, whether you're going to stay in your corporate career, whether you're going to stay in your professional service provider place, whether you are going to leave that behind and become a full-fledged entrepreneur, you can only be as successful as you are willing to acknowledge your strengths, and then even more importantly, acknowledge your areas for improvement. The areas for improvement, though, we're so much more willing to acknowledge those. Some of them we don't know, which is why this exercise is very helpful, because some of them we can't see. But it's the strengths that are so routine to us. And like was said in that podcast, we sit so close to them that we don't actually recognize them as strengths. Allow yourself to exist in the awkwardness and the discomfort that this exercise might bring up, and allow yourself to take the benefits from it. And then most importantly, really take a look at what you're doing in all areas of your life and how you are capitalizing on the strengths that you bring to the table. You are incredibly unique, and you bring your own experiences that allow you to have a place and a seat at any table you want to be at. But if you try to fit in, if you try to weaken those strengths or lessen the power of those strengths because you think they're normal or commonplace, you're doing yourself and everybody who could benefit from what you know a disservice. Always remember that you have the ability to design the life that you have always wanted, and you owe it to yourself to get out of your comfort zone and go live it. I would love to know your feedback on this. If you do this exercise, please respond and let me know what your experience was with it. Let me know whether you found it beneficial or what surprised you the most about the responses that you got. Thank you guys. We'll see you next week. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the More Than Corporate podcast. If anything that was said during this episode resonated with you or provided value in any way, it would mean the world to me if you would head over to iTunes and leave a rating and review for the More Than Corporate podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time to do that. I'm really looking forward to connecting with you. If you'd also like to connect, I've created a Facebook group that is full of amazing people who also make it their mission to live their best life every single day. If that sounds like something that you're interested in, the name of that Facebook group is Success Center. Head over there, request to join, and I look forward to connecting with you soon.